Now we're ready to do the last two things to clean up our entire battle system. The first thing we're going to do is reward the player for defeating the monster by giving them gold. Let's open up our battle window. Now let's scroll down to the bottom and go to our onBattleOver method. The first thing we're going to do here is cut the display message and paste it above the yield return. Then, above where we display our message, let's go ahead and add a new variable to store the amount of gold we're going to give our player. We'll call this variable gold, and we're going to set it equal to random.range 0, and for the max, we're going to set it to the monster's gold value. Next, we're going to test to see if gold is greater than 0 and the player is alive. If it is, we're going to modify the message above. Here, we'll simply type out message plus equals, and we'll start with a string and use an empty space. Then we're going to add the player.name, and we'll add another string starting with a space, receives, end it with a space, add our gold variable, and then we'll end it with a string that starts with a space and type in the word gold with a period. Now, if the player receives gold at the end of a battle, we'll also get a message saying that the player has won and they've received the gold. Next, we're going to need to apply the gold to the player. So let's call player increase gold and pass in the new gold value. And finally, we're going to want to update the player stats. So simply call update player stats method. And now let's save our code and go back into Unity. Now, in order for us to test this out, let's go to our player and modify his attack range to make it easier for us to test that this works. We're going to set the minimum value to 5. Now let's run the game and start a battle. Here I'm going to attack the monster, and it doesn't look like we got any gold. So continue to test until you win a battle and receive gold. It looks like I received 4 gold from that battle. And if we look at our stats, we now see that our gold is 9. Now that we know that this works, let's add in the last bit of logic our game needs, which is going to the game over screen. Let's go into our random map tester. Let's scroll all the way down to the end of our class, and we're going to add a new IEnumerator. We're going to call this exit game. And inside of this method, let's type yield return new wait for seconds, and we'll pass in 2. This way, the game over message will display, and we'll wait 2 seconds before we exit out of the game. Now let's talk to the window manager and call the open method. Inside, we're going to start by casting an int. We'll use the Windows enum, and we're going to select the game over window and subtract 1 from its value. Make sure that we leave it at default because we want this window to close all of the other windows and exit out of our game. Now let's scroll up to our BattleOver method. Above where we create our message, let's go ahead and start a coroutine, and we're going to call exit game. And the last thing we're going to do is copy the string that says the game is over, and let's delete these 2 lines of code. Now in our exit game, we're going to call display message, and we'll paste in that string. Now, before we exit the game, we'll display that the game is over, and then we'll go to the game over screen. Let's save this and go back into Unity. The last thing we want to do is modify the order of our screens. We're going to start by going to the game over screen, and we're going to set the next window to equal the start window. Then, in the canvas, we're going to scroll down to the window manager and set the default window ID back to 0. The last thing we want to do is make it easy for us to test that the game can be over. We're going to go into the actors. Let's select our player and change the range back from 0 to 5. And in the slime, let's set the range from 10 to 10. This way the slime kills the player in a single hit. Let's run our game. And now you'll see we're at the start menu. We'll create a new game. Let's trigger a battle. It looks like the slime is going to attack first, so there'll be an instant kill for the player. And now we see the game is over, and it goes to the game over screen. If we hit next, we'll go back to the beginning of the game, and now we have a full game loop for our RPG. Let's stop this and restore the slime's attack back to 0 for the minimum, and 3 for the maximum. And now our RPG is complete.